Indiana Jones and the Colts are no longer undefeated. They fall to the Rams 27-20 at SoFi Stadium. Katie Caldwell, Jeff Lloyd back here with you today. Jeff, as much as the Rams won this game, there were a certain few moments that it's hard not to feel like the Colts also lost that game. So, one of the big talking points of the day, AD Mitchell celebrated a little too early and fumbled on the 1 yard line for a touchback. He was also the one that got that holding call on the huge TD run for Jonathan Taylor. If you're the Colts, how do you handle a situation like this?
Well, if you're the Colts, obviously, it starts with, a conversation of attention to detail.
Mhm.
And you have to understand that every tiny thing can become a big thing at any given point.
Yes.
The touchdown, and I'm glad that you said AD because over the years and following him from Georgia to Texas through the draft, again, drafted by the Colts, I've heard his first name pronounced about 75 different ways. So I think these days we're going with Adonai Mitchell. I've heard Adonai. There's been a million ways. So yeah,
Adnai,
AD
yeah.
for me, yes, that seems the best way to go is just AD. Let's go
Yeah.
with that. Um, the thing that really, it kills you about the touchdown, it was an incredible catch. And not only does
Yes.
it bring it down, there's 2 guys, he spin moves away to the sidelines and then proceeds to run away from both defenders. And then all of a sudden, I guess the excitement in the moment gets the best of him, and obviously we know what happened, the ball goes out of the back of the end zone. The hold, I don't think it was ever gonna matter. Like, as long as he just stepped in front of that defender, that probably would have been enough. I mean,
Mm.
he got overextended, the hand was out. I mean, you as a receiver, and literally, me playing the position, what you were taught was basically that your butt is supposed to be the camera and your butt is supposed to take the picture of the running back. So that means if your back is to the running back, that means the defender is to your chest, which means the defender is not getting to your guy. He kind of went out, wanted to go for a kill shot, and subsequently cost his team an additional 7 points. But you look at it this way from the Colts. You probably should have just beat a team that technically should have beaten the Philadelphia Eagles the week before. I mean, it was
Mhm.
a 37-yard field goal for the Rams. Look, 37-yard field goals in today's NFL, it's literally a layup, obviously, the way kickers are kicking, and performing in this day and age. But yet it got to 27-20. And here's also the other one. He had 10 men on the field for the touchdown to Tutu Atwell, which
Yep.
made it 27-20. So again, attention to detail. And
Mm.
this is where now if you're Steichen, you can sit with this team this week and say, "Hey, did we get a little big for our bridges?" Because how in the most important drive of the game defensively, when everybody wants to play and get reps, did I not have the 11th guy who was supposed to be
Mm.
on the field? And then, of course, you go with the Mitchell stuff. So now you have the Raiders coming to Indianapolis this week. So should be a really good shot, certainly for Indianapolis to get right back on the schneid, get themselves to 4-1. So this is one where you can take and maybe get a nice teachable moment out of this.
Mm.
And if you're Steichen, that's probably all you really got right now, because I'm sure you're a little enraged and a little upset because there probably was a legitimate chance that you were going into SoFi and you were going to beat the Los Angeles Rams. So, it's certainly, there's a lot of good things certainly going for the Colts. Jones has been much more than anybody would have expected to this point.
Mhm.
Jonathan Taylor is looking like the Jonathan Taylor that everybody remember it was a year ago where everybody was like, well, what can I do to get Jonathan Taylor out of Indianapolis? Where Jonathan Taylor was actually just the good Joe and like, I don't want to leave. You don't have to trade me. Just pay me fairly. That's all I'm asking. And the Colts obviously got their mind right and took care of Taylor at the time.
Mhm.
I think defense probably could use somebody to step up as a pass rusher. Their offensive line working in some new pieces. And it was, they had a couple of big offensive line penalties late in that game. Raman had a hold. Quentin Nelson, strangely enough, actually had a big false start during that last drive, which led, I think it was to the interception of the
Yeah.
drive that stalled before that. Certainly didn't help things. So, I mean, if you're Shane Steichen, this is a really great opportunity to say, guys, look at all these things. And yet, in spite of it all, we still had the ball in our hands to drive down the field and
Mhm.
tie the game. So we just tighten it up. We clean it up. We realize the field is 100 yards long and not 99 and three quarters long. We don't try to get a kill shot as a wide receiver getting a block. We do just enough to sustain our man. Jonathan Taylor doesn't really need all that much extra help. He's pretty talented as it is. So for the Colts, that this could really be, and it's kind of what I walked away from it is this can be one of those ones where, yeah, obviously it's a loss, it's a step back, but it's a lot better than saying, well, we went out, we're not good enough with the Rams, we lost by double digits. We should have conceivably won this game. And I can give you 5 factors right away why we didn't.
Mhm.
And that's, hey, let's not get, too caught up in the headlines. Let's not get too caught up in our own record, day to day, week to week, play to play, all boring, corny, cliche stuff that coaches live for.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what the Colts can do and say, "Hey, look, we can't let another one slip away. So you better make sure that everything is being done basically to the written letter, and make sure we're dotting every I and crossing every T, because you can see how much one small mistake or a couple of small mistakes manifest obviously into costing a team a victory."
Quick pause. If you haven't subscribed to the BetCanada YouTube channel, you can do so below. It's free and it helps support our channel so we can keep bringing you NFL and NHL content. Now, back to the show. Which is nice because those are things that are so easy to be fixed. And it's so funny, like so much of the discourse today is what went wrong. But man, if I'm a team and I'm 3-1 and I narrowly lost, like you said, a game that could have been won to a Super Bowl contender, there's so much to be hopeful here for Indianapolis. What is your read on Shane Steichen as we move through the season? So before we got on air, I actually looked up the betting odds from the offseason. He was behind only Brian Daboll and Mike McDaniel for the first head coach to be fired. I have a feeling he's much more close to winning coach of the year than first head coach to be fired. It just looks like it's come together so well, and simple mistakes like that, penalties, dropping a ball before the end zone, like those are things that can be so easily fixed. What's your read on Shane Steichen as we move through the season and how he's dealing with this?
Well, I mean, the thing, and we talked about this, and like you have two franchises right now. The Browns, Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski, easily somebody, if not both, could have been fired over Deshaun Watson.
Oh
You
yeah.
look at the Colts, obviously, and we talked about this. Somebody could have easily been fired over the Anthony Richardson selection and it not working out. But what did they do? They went out and they found a guy and they brought him in and he challenged and they said, you know what? He's performing better. He looks better. Our asses are on the line either way. So which guy are we going down with? You know what?
Hmm.
Well, if I'm going to go down, I think it's going to be our guy is going to be Daniel Jones. So right now, obviously things look a lot better than they did. I think Steichen, I think it's a belief, and this is something where, people end up losing jobs that necessarily shouldn't. It's okay that Shane Steichen is not a guy that can look at all of these draft college quarterbacks and say, okay, well, this is my guy.
Mm.
And it's really, really hard. And this is certainly something the Browns have gone through with Stefanski, very similar again, where maybe you don't know who the ideal guy is for you. And, we can say 6 months ago that the Colts, or I'm so 9 months ago, the Colts never said, "You know what? Well, if it ain't AR, it's gonna be Daniel Jones." But now you get Daniel in there, and first thing you do is, "Okay, look this over. What are you not comfortable with? All right, I don't like that. That doesn't work for me. All right, gone, gone, gone." And you try to, "Hey, this is what we know about you. We are going to focus on what you think your own positives are. We are going to add to it what we believe your own positives are, and we're going to hopefully find a way to be successful with that." And it's a confidence thing. The biggest thing with all these quarterbacks and the ones that go up and the ones that go down, and you see it with Sam Darnold with Seattle right now, and what Sam's been through is these quarterbacks sometimes are not given enough time to build up confidence. It is always so much of
So
the
true.
I am looking over my shoulder. Either my head coach could be fired, my
Hmm.
offensive coordinator could be fired, or they could be kept. And then guess who's the problem? Then I'm the problem. So there is just so little amount of security. And most of the time when we're talking about it, we're talking about 21, 22-year-old kids who now are basically on their own for the first time, a city nowhere near where they grew up with, all the expectations, all the pressure, and they're not given ample time for it all to come together. So I think Steichen, with a less overall skilled player than Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson got all the talent in the world. Question is, do you truly know how to play quarterback?
Mm.
And this is something that the way the game is evolving too. You see these high school teams, usually the best athlete is usually the quarterback. But that does not necessarily mean that they are truly a quarterback. They're a guy that can play the position. Daniel Jones is a guy that can play the position, but may not have the overall talent of Anthony Richardson. Not many people necessarily do, but he knows what he is capable of. He knows what he can do. Having Tyler Warren there is absolutely a great thing for them. Daniel
Yeah.
Jones likes the tight end. I can work the middle. So guess what that means? That means the defense drops. So now Taylor is more readily available, going, Texas routes over, outside of the offensive line, over the defensive line, over the middle. If Warren goes deeper, they have to make a choice. You got to cover one of them. The wide receivers' life has become vastly easier because the Browns can threaten, I mean, the Colts can threaten the middle of the field, which gives you the wide receivers a lot of one-on-ones, and the Colts like their wide receivers to Mitchell, Pittman, all bigger wide receivers. And Daniel Jones, again, it's a lot easier of a throw. He's 6'3, the cornerback's 5'11. As long as I throw the ball and I give my guy enough ample opportunity to go up and get it, the
Mhm.
5'11 guy can't go as high as the 6'3 guy. Steichen has just done a really good job understanding the talent he has and keeping it simple. And it certainly helps that you have a pretty good offensive line. It certainly helps that you have one of the best running backs in the league
Yep.
in Jonathan Taylor. It's keep it simple, stupid type of stuff, and it's really working. And the advantage they have is the team that was supposed to run away with the division for the third straight year is struggling at 1-3.
Mhm.
Jackson here. So as we mentioned earlier, Jacksonville and the Colts in this situation. Tennessee 0-4, Houston 1-3. So you can preach that what you're doing is working, and it doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to be sexy, it just has to work.
There have been so many overwhelming positives for the Colts for me this season. They've just been such a surprise. One thing that concerned me yesterday, they really didn't have an answer for Puka Nakua. And that's not an original thing to the Colts. There have been so many teams that simply don't have an answer to Puka and to Matthew Stafford. Is that a concern for you? How do they mitigate that moving forward so they can stay competitive? Because what did he have? 170 yards and a touchdown? That, like, he kind of toasted them.
I believe it was like 13 receptions as well, and I
13
believe it
receptions.
was,
Yeah.
yeah, first 4 games, 8 plus or whatever, which is a crazy remarkable number. We are getting to this point in the league where you have receivers like this, and I think the thing that defense coordinators are saying is, "I can't really afford to double cover anybody."
Mm,
Because all of a sudden, then, you're definitely in the receiver position in a whole is just extremely talented.
yes.
So, yeah, if I'm going to put 2 on 1, what am I going to do? Put a safety on the Rams number 2, the Rams number 3 receiver? That situation is probably not going to work out very well. So it's one of those ones, well, we're going to play off of him. And, he can run under all these underneath routes he wants. And hopefully it's catch, tackle, and we can limit it some of it. And to be fair, the theory probably would have worked yesterday, if the Browns didn't make some. I mean, the Colts didn't make these other 5 mistakes that kind of cost them the game. They could have absorbed everything Puka Nakua did
Mm.
and still found a way to come out on the right side. But everybody, it's one of those things when a receiver just is really tearing things up, and everybody, oh, we'll double him. There's just so much talent on the field, and it's similar to your pass rushers. And okay, well, we got to put a chip on him, or even a third guy on him. Okay, well, now I'm leaving 3 or 4 guys with one-on-ones. The odds are pretty good that one of those 3 or 4 guys, whether it's a wide receiver or whether it's a pass rusher, is going to win their one-on-one. So then, whether or not the double, the triple team worked on the pass rusher or the wide receiver inherently wouldn't matter, because you're going to most likely get burned, and you can't have one guy help to an area, a deep third, a deep center, if they have to be responsible for a receiver because you wanted to double someone up and tried to take them away.